Right, the new, kind of new, and the old. Now, we have lots of problems. Cannot find an engine out of a Dispatch or a Jumpy because they're just too old and scrapyards just don't have them. This engine is out of a 306 Peugeot, which is the same engine. Slight differences. Right, but the first problem is, with this being a second-hand scrapyard engine that's been sat around for God knows how long, we have a few problems. First problem is they've just destroyed the sump. Not a big deal, we have a sump, but it's just extra work. The bracket to hold the alternator and everything on, as you can see, is just all smashed. The power steering pump bracket is just all smashed. The filter housing is all smashed. Connections broken off, just an absolute mess, which makes my life a lot harder. The injector pump is wrong. It's a different injector pump. Normally wouldn't be the end of the world, but I think we've got problems with this injector pump because, and you say, well, how do you know that? Come over here. If you can see in there, hopefully, now you see all them shiny bits? All them shiny bits are at the injector pump and the injectors. So bad diesel's gone through it and ripped everything out of there, which is a nightmare. And the money just isn't in it to get that repaired. But the other thing is, with this being a Dispatch, we have the oil filler filter, or the oil filler from the front of the engine. We have the normal oil filler, but we also have this one. This engine doesn't come with that. Not the end of the world, you can still fill it from there, it's just a lot more awkward. So what I'm gonna do is, no point me doing it on camera, I'm gonna do it off camera because you've seen it on the other engine. I'm gonna swap everything over. I'm gonna take off the filter housing, completely remove that, not put the new one on until I get the engine back in, put the alternators and power steering pumps, do all that. What else? Take off. Hello, Milo. Say hello. Say hello. No. Yeah. Doggy, doggy, doggy. Take all the covers off, tighten this engine up, lock it up to make sure it doesn't move. Okay, no point me showing you that because you can see it's just a couple of bolts to remove. So yes, I got a lot of work on this engine before I put it in. Then once I get it in, I'll put the sump in when it's in the car, so because in case the sump gets damaged, putting it back in. So I'm gonna get cracking with all this and we'll catch you again shortly. Right, the plot thickens. You can see the damage there, the bolts are all bent, but I spoke to the scrapyard. They said that just happened with the forklift forks. There's still a guarantee with the engine, so I'm not worried about the engine. To be fair, they are really good. I buy most of my engines from them when I can, especially when they have them. So I'm not worried about that. What I am kind of worried about is the pump. I was going to swap this one, but I just know there is absolutely no point. That pump is destroyed. With all the bits that's in the diesel, it's just destroyed. And my pump guy cannot get parts for it anymore. Just a nightmare. I think I managed to find another one, but they want more money for it, and yeah, I'm gonna have to ring the customer. That's gonna be a great phone call because I've already told them the price and I told them it'll be no more than what I told them, and now it's going to be more. Oh, the joys, the joys. So I'm gonna have to ring the customer first, see what they want to do, and then we can go putting all the new clutch on, getting the new belt on and water pump, and take the pulley off and or take the injector pump off. Joys! Right! Plans have changed again, Milo, haven't they? Milo, have they? No? Okay, doesn't care. Now, plans have changed again. We have an engine here, we have an engine there, and we're gonna soon have another engine. Now, I took off the old pump just to see, because when I cleaned it off here, it says Lucas. So when I rang back through to the scrapyard, because there's a Lucas pump on that, and I said it's wrong, they were going to see if they can find me another pump. Took it off, cleaned it a bit more, and we have a Delphi sticker or plaque and a Lucas name tag and a Delphi name tag. So I don't know what's going on here. We also have two different color connectors. In the old engine or the new engine, they're the same color. Now that might not make a difference, but it could do. So this engine is no good. This is our new engine. Not just because of this, not just because of that, but because, you see, look at that. So what will happen is that's internally cracked all the way down, but not externally. That, after a few weeks, vibration will just crack all the way down there. It'll be leaking. It'll be no good. So the engine is scrap, and there's a big Delphi sticker, but this pump is completely different to the one we've got. So we are getting a third engine, or second engine, sent down to us, but unfortunately it's going to be next week. So it's only going to be a few seconds for you, but I have to wait a week to get this. And as you can see, it's stuck on my lift, so I'm going to have to more or less put it back together to get it off the lift, clean up all this crap that's on the floor. Yeah, beautiful, eh? Few seconds for you and a week for me. Then we're gonna get this in here. We're gonna start making some smoke. They can drive it. Everyone's gonna be happy. But just these are the problems you have to deal with sometimes. It's nobody's fault, but it's frustrating. So, yeah. Right, we finally have the engine a week later, and we've still got an issue with the pump. On this one, we have 3 connections rather than 2, but I'm going to show you a way around that. It's not going to really affect us, but at least we know this pump and everything is good. So yeah, more problems. Just cannot get one with the blue connection. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take off all the covers here first. You can see this, it's slightly different pulleys and stuff, but it's still the same engine. And at least with this engine now, we have the proper oil filler, which is there right next to the filter. So that's going to make life a lot easier for us. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to whip off all the covers. No point me showing because I'm just undoing bolts. I'm going to line up the timing marks, then we'll turn the camera back on. And yeah, let's get this sorted. Right, as you can see, I have my specialist tools in line, which is a M8 bolt and a M10 bolt. Holds them lovely, they're threaded, absolutely perfect, it's not going to go anywhere. I've marked the bottom pulley, not that that's necessary because I've actually blocked the flywheel. So I've marked the flywheel there, and I've also blocked it with the screwdriver, so it's not going anywhere. I can take this off and replace it with no problems at all. So rather than making this video way too long and boring, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off, take the water pump off. Oh, this is the kit I'm using, so this is the full complete kit, and there's the part number, there's the water pump. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything off. Once I get everything off, I'll turn the camera back on and we'll kind of fit it, but it's going to be more or less the same once it gets back on. So this is the tensioner here, just loosen this tensioner, completely take it out. This will make the bolt or the belt slack. You can see bits of it coming off already. It feels a bit too tight for me. Whoever did this, I think, has just put it on a bit too tight, and that could be the reasons for this. But anyway, we're replacing it. So once I get the tension off, the belt off, the idler and the water pump, we'll turn the camera back on. Right, we've got all our new shiny bits on. There's all our old dirty bits off. Right, hopefully you can see everything. This bolt is tight, this one isn't. So this is the main tensioner. I've just kind of left it loose, it's just easier. Make sure your water pump spins, make sure your marks are lined up. Look at your belt, make sure there's no arrows on it, just in case there is, and if there is, you put them to the direction it spins. But there isn't on this one. So, this one should be, now I say it, it's going to be difficult, but I was going to say it should be fairly simple because it's off the car. So, let's see. What I might do, just to make it a little bit easier, just take off this for the minute. Give me a bit more slack, just for getting around the final pulley at the bottom. There we go. Now, we want slack up here, which we have. We've too much there, so we need another tooth. There we go. Now, that's good. Slot this over. Shouldn't be too difficult. No, there we go. And now the belt is on and we need to tension it. And I have the machine to do it now. A little gadget to go on there. So I'm going to get that and we'll get this tightened. Sorted. Right, as you can see, I've got a little gadget on the timing belt. I'll show you that in a second. I just want to kind of just lightly nip the 13mm up, just very lightly, enough for it to move, but not enough for it to slip back. And I've got an S8 square drive to go into the actual solenoid, into the tensioner. What we're going to do is we're going to turn this machine on. We need to set it to seams. You can see there is different settings, foot-pounds and stuff like that, depending on which belt you're doing. And the beeping is annoying, I know. But what we need to do, I need to zero this. We need to make it go on 0. And then I need to turn this anti-clockwise. So make sure you do it anti-clockwise, which is important. And as you turn it anti-clockwise, we need to check the reading. As you can see, that's not going down. As I'm turning, because I've slightly squeezed the bolt, it's not turning back. Now this has to be 106. So I need to turn this until it reaches 106. There we go. Oh, let's go back down, it's too much. Now we are plus and minus a couple, so it doesn't really matter. There we go, 106. So I'm going to turn that off because it's really annoying. And yeah, so all I've got to do is tighten that, which I don't have my spanner with me, which is really clever of me. Lucky enough, this will save in its menu. All right. I have to turn this back on. We're still at 74. Get my 13mm. Same again to reach 106, or very close to it. It's 109. That's too much. Slacking it off. There we go. Bang on. 105. It's okay. Gonna stay there, and there we go. Boom, we're fine. So I can turn this off now. What I'm gonna do is turn this engine by hand at least 2 times. Take out my screwdriver, you can just see sticking out there. So we take out that feels good. So I'm going to turn this engine completely by hand at least twice. Obviously take out my pins because that is very important. You don't have them in because it won't turn, and if you do try and manage to turn it, you're going to damage something. So I'm going to turn it completely by hand twice, make sure all my marks line back up, make sure my tension is still okay. Then we'll continue. It really is as simple as that. Right, I'll show you me turn the engine. It is important to put the bottom pulley back on just so nothing can slip because of the way these are designed. So I'm just going to turn it 2 full revolutions. We've got compression, which is obviously a good thing. We've got a lot of compression. So that's now 1 turn. And 2, no, 1.5. I was looking at the bottom pulley. Oh, come on. Now, let's see if me marks line up perfectly. Let's see if my back one lines up. Does perfectly. Just check my belt. Yeah, nice tension in my belt. Spot on. Now that's done. Well, I'm going to have to take off the pulley. I'm going to put all the covers back on. No point me showing you that because it's just a couple of bolts. And then we get to the clutch. Sorted. Right, we're all back together. Timing belt on, covers on, everything's tightened up. Lovely. Now what I'm going to do, there's no point me filming it because it's just going to be boring. You can see all the pipes that have been cut. I'm going to go around taking all the clips off and taking the good pipes off the good engine. See, this one's been cut. Over here, take all the good pipes off and put them on the new engine. because especially the ones on the back is going to be a lot harder to do when the engine's in. I've also got to take these studs out and replace them with the new ones for the exhaust because they're no good. See, the likes of this has all been cut. So I'm going to replace and take off all the cut pipes and everything, replace and put everything on I possibly can to make my life easier. And then what we're going to do is, you see the bottom one down there is cut for to fill the oil. I'm going to put the alternator and power steering pump back on. Again, there's no point me showing you that because it's just taking out bolts. Once I've done all that, once we get to the clutch, I'll turn the camera back on. There's the alternator and the power steering pump. Get everything on, and then we'll worry about the clutch after that. Right, I need to make an EGR valve blanking plate, and the reason is because of the pump. I'll explain it all later, but I'm just going to quickly show you how to get kind of, you know, the shape. Get a normal piece of paper, just put it over, make sure there's one sheet, and just get your finger and just rub your dirty finger over it. And as quick as I'm doing that, boom, there we go, look at that. Nope. Perfect shape and everything. Now obviously don't cut the hole out in the middle, we're just interested in the bit, and there's the two holes for the bolt. I'm going to cut that out a piece of 2mm steel, no point me showing it, it's just cutting it out. I'm going to put it on there, put the bolts back, and I'll explain why we have to make this blanking plate. Right, time for the new clutch. So we have a new clutch plate, a new pressure plate, and the release bearing goes inside the gearbox. Show in a second. Right, on a lot of clutches you will see when you look down there's a side that sticks out more than the other. You can see that's more or less flush, and you can see there's a thing that sticks out about 1/2 inch. When you look closely at it, it does say gearbox side. So in other words, that has to face towards the gearbox. If you turn it this way, it will not fit, and as you can see there's a big gap between the pressure plate or the clutch disc, and then it'll just destroy everything. So you need to know, or you need to make sure you get it the right way. So gearbox side this way. But what we now need to do is make sure we got this centered. I've showed this tool loads and loads of times. It's a clutch centering tool, universal. Absolutely brilliant, dirt cheap. What you do is you shove it through. Now I'll just line this up first and I'll actually show you once I got it lined up. Now we've got that lined up, as you can see it's just wedged in there. What I like to do is pick the 3 points and just see if the gap is evenly all the way around. I've just got little gaps here, here and here, and it looks to be absolutely spot on. If you get this part wrong, what you'll find is you'll struggle to get the gearbox on because the splines won't line up properly. So I'm happy enough with that. Line this up, put it on the 3 little dowels, and now, simple as that. So much easier when the engine's out. So much easier. 6 bolts then to go in. What you want to do is tighten these evenly and do them as a star pattern like you would be doing your wheels. So we'll just... Now, the prongs have bent in, which is good. See my finger now sits in that gap, which means we've got pressure on the clutch. Just release this, pull that out. Simple as that. Just going to tighten them to factory specs, and then we can bang on the gearbox. Again, no point me showing you just putting in the gearbox and putting in the ring of bolts, but once I've actually done that, we will get this ready and get it put in, get this hanging there. Lovely. Right, so I just want to show you the release bearing. You can see there's 2 little tabs just there on the opposite side where my finger is. So you have to put that in and then make sure you get that level, put that in and twist it 180 degrees just until them tabs lock. And now, as you can see, it will actually slide up and down without coming off. So I'm going to put the gearbox on. There's only 4 bolts to put it on. There's no point me showing you. It's just one. They're the 3 start motor bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's on. And then once we do that, we'll get it back in, and then yeah, we're sucking diesel. Sorted. Right, we dodged a bullet. This is the flywheel I had on it. I don't know if you can see these notches, one here and one there, and on the back there's nothing. There's 2 different types of pickups for these. One works on the gearbox, one works on the engine. This is the one that works from the gearbox, but our engine, our crankshaft sensor is in the back on the engine. And there's two little cutouts on the back of the actual flywheel. So I had to change the flywheel to the old one. Lucky enough I spotted it, because we would have put it in and it wouldn't have started. Would have been just a nightmare. So we're ready now to get this in. I'm just going to get this hanging in that engine mount on and the far engine mount, and I'll be happy. Then we can just start wiring all this baby up. Let's go. No, 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 no. Oh, before I forget, I need to put this hose on the back, don't I? Get it in a bit more.
Oh, you dirty, rotten bolt! How could you break off? You dirty, rotten mother! Oh, dirty, rotten! How dare you break? Oh, I can't believe it broke off! Not again! Oh, man alive! Son of a... Oh, I can't believe it broke off! Jesus! No wonder I'm the disgruntled mechanic! Oh, you dirty, rotten bolt! How could you break off? You dirty, rotten mother! Oh, dirty, rotten! How dare you break? Oh, I can't believe it broke off! Not again! Oh, man alive! Son of a... Oh, I can't believe it broke off! Jesus! No wonder I'm the disgruntled mechanic!
Right, hopefully you can see this. I am struggling a bit. I've kind of got it resting on that engine mount. I had to take this engine mount back off because it was getting in the way. I'm hoping I can kind of swing it into place. That's what I'm hoping, but we won't know yet. So we just relieve the pressure a bit more. Give me a bit more room. That's maybe too much now. No, that should be fine. Pump it up a little bit. And then I can hopefully swing this in. I say that, but I am unsure. I think I can manage that. Need to get that kind of in first. Is this going to work? Or is that too big? Nope, it's not going to work. I think it's worked. I think it's bloody worked. Yeah, that one's in. This will take a little bit of wiggling, I'd say. Doesn't matter, one's in. So what I can mostly do now, hopefully, is just jack this up and get that kind of sitting there, and then I can worry about getting that in. Would you look at that? And we popped out the other side, but that doesn't matter. The other side is easy. It's this side I was gonna have trouble with. And now, yeah, that's going down now too. Lovely jabbly. Beautiful. Just jack that up a bit more and rest that in again. What's stopping me now? Pipe. Is the pipe stopping me? Surely not. What stuff? Ah, it's not up enough. There we go. Would you look at that? Gotcha. Whew. We're in, people. We are in. Ah, yes. Success. Sorted. I'm just going to go around, tighten all these bolts, and then, yeah, I can release. But it's in. Hally fucking you, yeah. Right, we can actually get to wiring this baby up. Now, what I want to do is, because I am wiring this up slightly differently, I would normally now be putting all the drive shafts and stuffs on like that just to see, you know, kind of get the engine a bit more stable, because we've got a completely different pump. So in other words, let me show you the old pump. This is the old pump. We have a black connection and a blue connection. Now, I cannot find this pump. I've also rang my pump guy and he cannot get parts of the pump. So it's not easy even if we could get this fixed. And for money, time and price and everything, it's not worth our while. Now, as we can see from this one, we have 3 connections and they're all black. So the pumps are different, but, and there is a but, we blanked off our EGR valve. This sensor at the top controls our EGR valve. This wire here is for our EGR valve. So I've completely blocked that off, no problem. We shouldn't have an issue. This one down here is actually the same connection, same wires and everything, so we don't have an issue. I'm sure that's for the throttle position, so that's good. And the one down here, you can just see the wires sticking out of. That's for our stopper here. So I should be able to wire up the solenoid stopper here, no problem, with the wires we have in our loom, which is down here. So that's not going to be an issue. But what I want to do is I want to hook this up and get everything in, and I want to see if this will actually start before I worry about putting everything in and getting this engine buttoned up, because we might have a problem here. And I don't want to put everything in and then realize the engine doesn't start and then kind of go from there. I'm going to stick in the starter motor. It's just 3 bolts, and I'm going to hook up all of our connections. There's no point me showing you it because it's just literally pushing in clips. Once I get to the wiring of the pump, I'll show that, but the actual pushing in clips and putting the wiring back, I'm not going to show because it's just pointless. So once I've done all that, we'll turn the camera back on and we'll see where we're at then. Right, we are in. You can see we've got the power steering lines up, we've got the alternator, the starter motor in, we've kind of half got the pump in, and I had to completely change the filter housing because we have 2 sensors on here, and the old one only had 1 sensor, which was a different one. It didn't have the other sensor here, and this sensor is different anyway, so we had to change the whole thing, which we've done. So I'm going to put the new filter in, and I'm going to put the filler, which is here to fill the engine. I'm going to put that in and put the oil in. No point me showing you that, because just pouring oil in and putting on a filter, pushing this to bleed it. Then this is our solenoid here. The yellow wire is going to be our power, and the other wire, which is the brown wire, is going to be our earth. So I should just be able to put 12 volts on an earth to that. I'm going to quickly do that off the battery, and then we're going to see if this starts. I could have maybe tried to wire this in, but what's the point? Why make things harder for you? I need to get this done. They need the car back. Don't really need the EGR valve on this particular model, so the older ones be fine. And then once it starts, we can worry. Oh, I put the new filter on as well. I might as well. So I'm going to put the new diesel filter, or the new oil filter on, the new diesel filter, do that pipe, put power and a ground to that, and then we are ready to try and start this, people. There's no water in it, but I'm only starting it to see if it does start, to make sure everything's okay. And yeah, exciting time. You ready? I have the ignition switched on because I'm using a kicker button, so I don't need to go in there. I have the wires, again, the yellow one is the power, I think it was the brown one, is the earth. I have that hooked up to the battery, just temporary, because I just want to see if this starts. I don't want to go too far involved until I make sure I've got all my wiring correct, because it's a completely different pump and we're essentially rewiring it. So all I've got to do is connect this to the battery, which is our solenoid. We can hear it click. Now, hopefully I've pumped this enough. We should be able to start this. if the battery wasn't flat, get the old booster pack on it. Are we on? We're on. Now, let's see what we do. Oh, are we on there properly? No, we're not on there properly, that's why. Right, I'll have to put this here instead. Now, are we on? Battery's really low. All right, see if we've got enough power in it. Third time, let's try. If I just hold the engine from jumping too much. Ho, 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 ho. We're close. Did something. Hey, baby! There we go, people. There we go. So it worked. Now we've got no exhaust, we've got no nothing on, but let's see if this will stay running. Oh, my jump pack going dead. Need to charge my jump pack and charge the battery. Sorted, geezer, sorted! I just like pressing this button, so let's start it again. It's a new special way. Press a button and put your hand over the filter to stop it. I mean, every car should have one. Isn't it better starting a car with a button? It's just better. Now you might realize, or you might be wondering, why was I so happy? It's just starting an engine. I've started loads of them. It's just the hassle I've had with this. Everything. The fact that we couldn't seem to get the right pump, so I had to rewire it. I was 99.9% sure, but there's always a little bit there where you're not. The things like the housing, the flywheel, you know, I've had to change so many different things on this, which normally you don't have to do. The fact that the first engine came and it was damaged, and you know, it's just hassle, hassle, hassle. So I'm going to do the boring bits now. No point me showing you. I'm going to put on the gear linkage cables. That's just 4 bolts. I'm going to put in the right-hand drive shaft. Tied up all these wires to, you know, cable tie them, clip them all in the right place. No point me showing you that. It's going to be boring. Hook up the clutch cable, just little things like that. And once I kind of got that done, we'll turn the camera back on and we'll continue. Oh yeah, also put the expansion bottle back. But before I do that, I'd have to put the radiator on, and you know, just a few bits like that. But I'll go through everything that I've done once I turn the camera back on. And yeah, we're looking good. Sounds good, it runs good. What more do you want? Sorted. Now, you think you're getting there, and just not. I didn't realise at the time when I put the oil in, there's a hole in the sump. So it's all gone all over the floor, just cleaned it up. So I'm going to have to change the sump. Another thing I wasn't expecting. The sump on the old engine's really, really rusty. This sump isn't rusty, but there's a big hole in it. So another thing I'm going to have to do, which I wasn't expecting, is just more time, more hassle. These are the things that, you know, you just can't really predict that happens when you're doing an engine. But I have got the drive shafts in. I have got everything else, and so I want to show you that. Also, I want to show you the special socket you need. You don't particularly need it, just makes things life a lot easier. So let's get you under here and see what I've done. Right, you can see there's a big dent in the sump, but we can see, there you go, lovely hole there. Right, so I've got this in, and what I did is, I didn't take off this bracket. This bracket was already on the engine. I just did the other bolt on the EV joint, and I just took the drive shaft out and slotted it back because it was just a lot easier to do it that way. I've put the steering rack bolts back on because I took them off, if you remember. You maybe can't quite see, but I've got the exhaust on. I've also got the far drive shaft on. And again, you watch the first part, it's easy. No point me showing you. Just putting it back up there and bolting, where are we? Bolting the wishbone back on. Once you do anything with your suspension, you are going to have to track it. And that's really essentially it. So the engine's a lot more sturdy now because we've got all the engine mounts on, so it's not rocking. And the bolt for the CV joint, nothing special about the bolt, just an ordinary bolt. It's a 36mm. You need a long reach because as the drive shaft sticks out, a short reach won't do it. But, now, I don't know if you can see, this is really thin walled. You can see how much they've machined off where my finger is there. You can see the lip that was. This end here is chamfered, so the actual hub is chamfered. A normal 36mm won't fit in. It only just reaches the tip of the bolt, and if you try and screw it off, what happens is you damage the bolt, and it means it's very difficult to get off. This slots all the way in to the chamfer. I don't know if you can see that chamfer, it might not show up, but believe me, a normal 36mm just does not fit inside here. So you need this fella. So I'm going to screw that in, put the little pin in, which I've done the far side. That's the little pin there. So I have to do that. Then I have to fill it full of new gear oil. I'll show you, but where my finger is the filler here, right bloody there. Absolute nightmare. You're not well to see it, but it's just above the diff. So that's where I'm going to fill it. Take off the sump. Again, there is no point me showing you that because I more or less showed that in the first part. Just see all them Allen keys that go all the way around. So I'm going to have to take off the sump, clean it, reseal it, put the new sump back on, or the second-hand sump, which isn't as good as this, but in the sense of it's rusty, but at least there's no holes in it. And then get some more oil. You can just see, you can't, but I've just mopped all the oil up. Nightmare. Once I've done that, we'll turn the camera back on. Right, I think we've more or less got everything back. You can see I've had to put the old sump back on. I've just sealed it. That should be dry now. I'm going to put the oil in. We've put the oil, or fresh oil, in the gearbox. As you can see, the clutch is on. The throttle cable is on. Haven't put oil in it yet, so I'll do that in a minute. We've put, you can just see it there, we put the gear linkage cables on. So, I'm just ready to put the oil in, put the radiator on, connect the radiator hose there, and where are we? Down here. Also connect the bottle up there. And then we're ready to bleed this, and we can kind of let this start and see if it does everything. The clutch feels good, but I'm going to put it through all its gears just to make sure everything's okay. Make sure the battery's charging, make sure everything's working, there's no engine lights on, everything is working. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to do now. So we've only got two hoses. Just need to make sure this is down first. Pull out the little pin. Now put a bit of grease on here just to be careful. Put the right grease on it, don't just put ordinary grease on it. It's going to be a bit awkward to get that in. What I want to do is just put this one on here just so the radiator doesn't fall, because I have no other way of holding it on at the minute. Now we must not forget to connect the radiator fan switch and all the controls in that, because otherwise we'll be overheating. Connect that one down there, fill it up full of oil, and we can start this properly. Or put the tank on. No point me showing that, it's just nuts and bolts. It'll be boring. What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this bottom hose properly. I'm going to put the header tank back on, or the expansion bottle back on, fill it full of oil, then we're going to start it, we're going to bleed it. Should be good to go. Sorted. Right, what I'm going to do next is put the lights back on. What I have done is I've just I've put the airbox in, and that really is essentially it. Looking more like a car again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start it, and then I'm going to put it all back together, because I've got to put like the bonnet catch on, connect the headlights, connect the indicators, actually bolt this on properly. And then it really is just the front bumper and the test drive. So what I'm going to do, there really is no point me showing you put the front bumper on because it's the same as taking it off, just opposite. So once I've done that, I'm going to start this now so we can hear what it sounds like. And then I'm going to bolt all this on, put the bumper on, take for test drive, and then kind of finish up the video. So I bled the system, made sure there's no leaks, there's no oil leaks, there's no water leaks. Everything's fine, our wiring's fine for our pump. You don't have to connect the vacuum gauge back up to your EGR valve because this is a vacuum controlled EGR valve. We've disconnected it. You can if you want, but you don't have to. And I think that really is it. Oh, we put the top mount on over there for the engine mount. And I think that's it. So, let's start this and see what it's like. Starts nice, sounds good, no smoke. Kind of it, really. Sorted. Right, here we go. You can see the front of the vehicle is all back together. Let's go and see what it sounds like. Just to make sure we've done it properly. All the ignition's already on. There we go, people. Lovely, sorted, it's done, it's running nice. And there we go, sorted.
Hi.
Here we are, happy to get our car back. And yeah, es war das Beste, über Leon zu stolpern, als wir unsere Panne hatten. Best ever. Best mechanic ever.
Right, what I'm going to do is, they said a little bit in German, and I'm going to translate it. I was going to do subtitles, but it takes too long. I just can't be arsed. So I'm going to kind of put myself in the screen, and as they're talking, I'll pause it so you can still hear them, but then I'll tell you what they've just said. I think it's going to be the easiest and quickest way for me.
Besser hätten wir es nicht machen können, eigentlich, dass die Karre hier direkt vor der Tür kaputt gegangen ist. Weil jemanden so guten hätten wir einfach ansonsten auch niemals gefunden. Und wahrscheinlich hätte es auch niemand in Irland sich die Zeit genommen und den Stress, weil ihr werdet es ja in den Videos schon gesehen haben oder jetzt im zweiten Teil sehen, wie stressig das war, die ganzen Teile zu holen, und dann ist der zweite Motor dann ja auch erst einmal noch kaputt gewesen und das Ganze, also...
I have a man crush on Leon. Okay, fair enough. I understand that, I can completely understand that.
Unfassbar happy.
Einfach glücklich, und es ist nämlich unser Haus, wir wohnen da drin, sind jetzt seit einem Jahr unterwegs, deswegen sind wir einfach auf das Auto angewiesen.
Well, she said, unfortunately she didn't meet me first, because if she did, she wouldn't be with him. But, you know, well, again, can understand that. So there we go. So that's it, a bit of German translated, hope everyone got that. And we're gonna get looking into the inside.
Ja.
And now I'm gonna switch into English because in the first video I read some comments about the car, like blah blah blah, people telling, well, it's so old, it doesn't really make sense to repair it, and that's partially true, but in our case it's not, because we invested so much time and also a little bit of money, but so we transferred it into a camper van, and I just want to show you now so that you get a little idea about how it looks like. So let's go around to the back. Oh, now the light is off. Edith, could you turn on the light again? Yes. So this is our little home. We're on tour since December last year, and well, that's basically it. It's a small bed you can fold over so we can sleep in it together, and little table, lots of storage space underneath, and yeah, it worked out really nice. It's super cozy, it's insulated and all over, and yeah, that was just the reason why we wanted to get it fixed, because it's not just a car for us, it's really our home. We live in it. We don't have an apartment, no nothing now. Well, we will have if we go back to Germany, but it's just really important for us, and thanks a million, did a great job there, and we will keep it and treasure it for as long, I don't know.
As long as possible.
Yeah. All right, see you. Cheers, guys. So please like, share, and subscribe, and
Don't forget to get your hands dirty.
sorted.
Sorted.